we are going to start. I have a bunch of scraps here that we're going to be using to make our pillow. So I pulled out some and just put them together. I've got some aqua, some yellow, some white. I thought it needed a little bit more of a different color, so I'm just pulling out some scraps, and I'm thinking I'm going to use maybe another pink. Maybe this polka dot pink right here. All right, just to add a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead. This is a great project to use up some scraps. And what I'm going to do, since I have this small piece, I'm going to start, and this is going to be my roof. So I am going to go ahead and trim it down. Oh, yeah, trim it down on this side. And then I want to decide what kind of roof. Do I want one that just goes like this? Do I want one that kind of goes up at an angle and then across? I think I'm just going to do a plain A-line roof. So let me go ahead. I don't want this white on the edge. So I'm going to I'm not even going to measure. I'm just going to do as much as my fabric will allow. I'm going to go ahead, draw a straight line up there. Let's go ahead and fold this over. Right. Now I'm going to use that on my other side. Trim a little bit more off. Doesn't have to be exactly symmetrical, but you want it kind of mostly symmetrical. All right, here's our roof piece. Now that we have our roof piece, I'm going to go ahead, get rid of these. I'm going to go ahead and use this piece as our house body. So I'm going to line this up. I don't want this pillow very big, so we're just going to cut across like that. This is okay being this close to the edge, these little dots, because I'm actually going to sew those off. So that is going to be just fine. All right. So this is going to be our house and our roof. Now our house needs a few decorations. So we're going to start working on that. Let's get this scrap fabric out of the way. I am going to go ahead, and I have this little piece of pretty daisy fabric, and I'm going to do a little bit of a daisy garden. So I'm just going to kind of go around these few little daisies. Kind of let the fabric guide me, the print on the fabric. And I want to leave space for my door. So here we go. We've got our fabric. All right, and then I think our door is going to go on this side. So for our door, I'm going to go ahead and use this sparkly aqua. I love it. I have a little bit of it. You can do a round door, you can do a square door. I'm thinking I want my door to be a little bit taller than this. So I'm actually going to go ahead, cut off here. Maybe about this tall, so. But I definitely don't want it that wide. So now I get to decide, do I want a square door? Do I want a round door? I think I'm going to go with a square door. There we go. And then I may want to outline it just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and go like that. So there's our door. Let me go ahead and cut a piece of this. This will be for our window. That's a little bit too big for our window, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that down. There we go. So now we've got a window, we've got a door. You can do these different colors if you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little scallop piece across this edge. So I've got right here. All right, and then I'm just going to cut about 1 inch. And with this scallop, I'm just going to make a cute little design. All right, now that we have everything, I'm just going to take the backing. So there's just one piece of fabric. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to outline all of these with my sewing machine. I'm just going to sew them on. We are going to use this side seam allowance. So I'm going to move this over a little bit so that there's enough to sew and not run into the door. So what we're going to do is just get our sewing machine and then trace over everything we've done. All right, now that we've almost sewn on all of our decorations, you can see that I am using a zigzag stitch here. This is a great opportunity as you're sewing on these design elements. If you want to use a zigzag stitch or several of the other decorative stitches that your machine comes with, there are a bunch of different choices that you can do here. And we're just sewing around the outline of everything to keep it in place. We're going to go ahead and now that everything is sewn on, we still have the window. We're going to go ahead and just use a straight stitch to sew on this little window. And I don't do these individually. I just sew the blue and the white together. I know I separately sewed the blue piece of the door and the white piece of the door, but of the window, I'm just going to go with one stitch all together. And I'm going to go over the window a little bit. I like that look of it not being exactly outlining, so I'm just going to do a little bit over and not worry about if it's not exact. I am back stitching a little bit. All right, and then we're going to sew the window panes. You can add as many window panes as you want just by making it. I'm going to do a little 4-piece, make 4 different window panes, but you could certainly add it as a 6-piece window or even a picture window and not add any picture frames. I sewed it that way. Now I'm going to come back around so that I can go the opposite direction. You could stop the thread, stop sewing, cut the thread, and then start sewing again, but I'm just going to keep sewing and just sew around to where I need to be. And then once I've sewn that entire part, that's when I'll go ahead and cut the thread and do a back stitch. In that order. Do a back stitch and then cut the thread. So you can see my 4 little window panes there. One thing I didn't add on this one, but if you wanted to add like a little button for the doorknob, that would also be very cute. I know in other little pillows that I've made, I've incorporated buttons and really enjoyed it. But I'm going to go ahead and sew the top roof part right onto my house body now. Make sure it's lined up to the best of your ability. All right, and then do the same to the back. This is going to be the back of the house, and that's the back of the house roof. Line those up as well as you can. And then go ahead and sew those two. Now that we have our front and back both sewn together, we've got the plain side, which is just the roof and the house body, and then we've got the decorative side. We are going to go ahead and lay those together and match them up. So we're going to do right sides together, so the pretty sides together. The side that has all the decorations is going to go inside. There we go. And then we're going to lay the top pretty side facing down. And then we're going to sew around this whole house outline, leaving a little space at the bottom. You're not going to sew there because that's how we're going to turn it right side out. As you sew these together, be sure that your top and bottom fabrics match. So this, you can see it's a little hanging over the edge, and that's okay. You just want to make sure that where you sew, you're sewing through both layers of fabric. And then when you get to the corner, just put the needle down and turn it. There we go. We're going to go around the roof of our house. Come to that point. I realized I didn't sew quite enough to line it up. So I'm going to turn this back around, sew a little bit more. There we go. Such a cute little project. And the ways for decorations are just endless. You could add some rickrack. If you don't know what that is, it's a certain kind of ribbon. You could look that up. Rickrack. But I love adding rickrack. You could even add some pom-poms. You can see I'm making sure that I'm getting that bottom fabric as I sew. I said you could add some buttons. You could add some applique. You could even add some 3D elements with other kinds of ribbon. There are a lot of different possibilities. All right, we've got our top and bottom sewed together, and we're just going to trim a little bit of the excess. So over on this side, we've got a little excess hanging over here that we're going to trim off. And the same for the other side. Here's that little bit of a white that I said not to worry about because we're going to sew next to it and then trim it off. I am going to cut the corners at an angle. This gets a little bit of the bulk away so that when we go to turn these corners inside out, they're nice and crisp corners. All right, let's go ahead and turn our pillow inside out. See all of our hard work. This does take a little bit of time. You can use some chopsticks. You can use a crochet hook. I'm actually going to be using the needles, my scissors here in just a moment to get that corner nice and popped out. It's nice to have scissors with a rounded end. That way those work really, really nicely. I didn't put a hanger on this little pillow, but if you wanted to make it a little doorknob hanger pillow, I know they sell those a lot of places, you could always add a little piece of ribbon to the top as well. How cute is that? The final step is going to be to stuff it with fiber fill. You can get this at most craft stores. And this is just a polyester fiber fill. It's super soft, but you just want to pull apart a little bit and stuff it in there. There's no right or wrong answer for how much you want to stuff it. You can stuff it just a little bit. You can stuff it a lot more. Sometimes it's helpful to have that chopstick or scissors to push the fill up where you need it. But then you're just going to go ahead and keep filling it until you get to the size that you like, the feel of it. And then the final step is just to go ahead and sew this closed. You can hand sew it or you can sew it on your machine. And that's what I'm going to do here in just a minute. I didn't want to find my hand sewing needles, so I just real quick put it on my machine. Going to fold it over, slide it under there. It's a little bit tricky because it has been stuffed full. So just do the best you can and sew as close as you can to the edge, just over the part that you didn't sew when you sewed around the outline. All right, get that off and you have the cutest little pillow for a decoration. You can put this on a shelf, on the couch, give it away as a gift. It would be great for a little dollhouse as well. Here you go. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great time making some little houses to decorate your house with. Thanks so much.